Alrighty, this is our introduction for Project One. I'm just going to be going over the instructions that are listed on Blackboard, and hopefully answering any questions that might come up from them. So Project One, this is our art analysis. It is going to be a written assignment, just like an essay or, in that sort of format. So that's what you should expect for this one. This assignment asks you to apply the vocabulary and concepts that you've learned so far throughout this course to analyze the forms and principles, content, and cultural relevance of an artwork you have viewed, or to, sorry, to talk about the cultural relevance and content of a work that you have viewed in person during this course. Now, this artwork can be something that we have previously talked about. It can be something that has been in one of our lessons prior to this. It can be an artwork that you have viewed on your own. It doesn't really matter what artwork it is. It does not have to be viewed in person. So that's the question I get a lot, is that if you are not able to go to a museum, you can choose an artwork from online. I would suggest looking at Google Art and Culture, which I'll talk about in just a minute, but we'll have already talked about Google Art and Culture a little bit prior to this project, so shouldn't be any problem at all accessing that and all of that. But if you would like to go to a museum like the Mint or the Beckler in Charlotte or another major museum that you've gone to recently, you can definitely do that as well, but it's not a requirement. So task 0, I usually have like task 1, 2, 3, and 4, and so on to talk about how the layout for this goes. But I've got task 0 because we do have like a preceding assignment for this project, and this is our outline for project 1, which we'll talk about. I believe it's either in module 1 or 2 when you have to turn in your outline. But the outline, the artwork that you select for your outline is the one that you need to keep for your project 1. So don't switch your artwork that you choose from your outline to the one that you end up actually choosing for project 1. So really, for the first task 1, you should have already done that part mostly for the outline of the project. So you're kind of skipping a couple steps here. But let's just kind of, talk about that for a second. So you'll need to complete project 1 outline. In an earlier module, you're required to use the same artwork selected for the outline for the final version of project 1. Task 1 is to visit a major museum virtually or in person. I will say the more notable artwork that you have or you select, probably the easier this project is going to be for you. Now, I mean, if you do want to do a lot of research and try to find a lot of information on a work that's not really known that well, be my guest. You're more than welcome to do that. But I would say try to find an artwork that is at least the artist is like somewhat well known and has a good amount of research done on them, because you might end up hitting a wall if you choose something that's really obscure and doesn't have a lot of information about it. So you can either go to a major museum in person, and not to say that like little folk art kind of museums and little like local galleries and things like that with local artists are not great. They're great to go to, great to view and see local artists and artwork, but more than likely those artists are not going to have a whole lot of information on them that you can find online. So I would go for, if you can't go to like the Mint, the Beckler, or another major museum, then I would go to Google Art and Culture, which you can find right here, and you can look at dozens of exhibitions, dozens of museums and galleries from all over the world, and choose your artwork from there. But it's up to you at the end of the day. And another requirement that I have for this project, please do not choose Starry Night. I have nothing against Starry Night or Van Gogh, but I get a lot of these papers, and I want you to think a little bit outside the box. We all have a general understanding of what Starry Night is. We've seen it in pop culture for our entire lives. So a requirement for this project is that you cannot choose Starry Night, and you will receive points off if you do select Starry Night. So please do not select that artwork. You want it to be an artwork that has a good amount of information on it, but Starry Night is just a little bit too on the nose. Let's just try to go a little bit farther, expand our knowledge a little bit more past Starry Night. I do have a little sheet here where you can, You can get the art analysis worksheet, and just to collect some information on that. Honestly, you might want to do that before you even begin project one while you're doing the project one outline. But it's up to you. This is not something that you're going to turn in. It's just for your own benefit. So, take it or leave it. It's up to you totally. Um, Another sort of just PSA requirement on this project, you are not allowed to select an artwork that you have already written about for a previous assignment. So if you selected an artwork for the Active Seeing assignment, or another, even your favorite artwork for the Icebreaker assignment, you're not allowed to choose that same artwork to talk about. And that's really just a general rule for all projects and all assignments, is that if it's like a big writing assignment, if there's a lot of, writing and research that goes into it, I don't want you to select the same artwork twice, because you're just kind of like reusing an assignment and reusing the same information that you've already gotten. So do not use an assignment or an artwork that you have already used or you plan to use in the future. This is just sort of like a one-time artwork that you're selecting, and then we're going to move forward from there after this assignment. Alrighty, task 2, this is getting into the actual what the assignment is. So you're going to write a 500 to 600 word analysis of your chosen artwork. Your analysis should be between 500 and 600 words, no less than 500 words. If you exceed 600 by, 50 or so, I'm not going to be upset about that at all, but this doesn't need to be like a 6-page paper. Really, you just need, a good bulk of 4 paragraphs. That should take you, maybe 2 pages or so. It does not need to be that heavy. This should include detailed information about the work, where it is located, its formal elements and principles of design, and your interpretation of its content and how it relates to content, or how it relates to content to create unity. Create your work as a document and save it as a PDF. And an image of your chosen work is required for this as well. So please don't leave that off and lose some points for that. Your image should be labeled with the artist's name, title of the work, underlined, italicized, or in quotes, doesn't matter. But that is the formal way to cite an artwork, is to do one of those things to the title to know that that is the title of it, and it's not just some words that you included. The medium, the date, the size, approximate if it's not listed. If you do a sculptural piece, make sure that you get the height, width, and depth of the piece, not just the height and the width of it. And an image source for the museum that owns the rights to the image, and the name of the person who took the photo if it's not yourself. If that's really not that important. If you can't find that, it's okay, but just make sure that you credit the museum that is included in it. So your analysis should contain 4 paragraphs. The first paragraph will need to include the name and location of the museum, the title of the work, the artist's name, the date, the medium, and size. So basically, this is just what is going to be like in your label for your image, but you're going to do this without just listing these terms. So try to make this information descriptive and in an essay format. You don't just want to list it like bullet points like you would on your label. So you're giving this information to me twice. I don't want it in the same format twice. So the label that's just like directly under your image, it can just be listed like that, in like that little like a caption almost. But the first paragraph, it should be in an essay format, not in a just listed way. The next paragraph is about the form, or how we see the artwork has been organized. So this is going to come from our module 2 when we talk about, or we start talking about the elements of design or elements of art. So when writing about the formal elements and principles of organization, imagine you are describing the chosen work to someone who can't see it. Be sure to use the vocabulary words you have learned so far in lessons 3 through 7. And so here are some questions you might ask yourself, and you don't have to you don't have to answer all of these questions, but you also don't have to limit yourself to these as well. How is harmony created? Where is the focal point? What kind of balance is utilized? How is space arranged? And the third paragraph, it should include your interpretation of the subject and content found in lesson 1. So when writing about the content, back up your opinion in a thoughtful way. Saying you like something isn't enough. You must investigate why you like something. And you might want to include what you've learned about the work's culture as well. So do a little bit of research on that, research about the artist, life and what the artwork was made about. So I would say the third paragraph really needs to be like a combination of like your interpretation and the artist intention, and sort of how those two mesh together. Maybe what did you get, or what did you take away from the first time that you looked at the artwork? and how did it make you feel? And then, you know, what was the artist's actual intention? Think back about that video that we watched, or the Edpuzzle that we watched in lessons 1 and 2. Who decides what art means? And that might help you a little bit as far as understanding what that third paragraph is asking you there. Your last paragraph should consider the main aspects of form, how the image is composed of the formal elements and principles of design that you have described in paragraph 2, and relate them to the content of the work. So this should summarize how form relates to content and creates unity in a work of art. So the form being, you know, like the principles and the elements, the things that you look at that you can just see existing in front of you. And then the content is, you know, or the content is how the work is, sorry, I maybe mixed that up. The form is how the work looks. The content is what the work means. So how do those two merge together? How does the form relate to the content of what the meaning of the work is? And then how does that create unity in the work of art? Avoid exceeding 600 words. Try to use the word count. And then to submit your work, just create a document with the following: your chosen image, labeled correctly, the 4 paragraphs detailed above, and save your document to your computer as a PDF or a Word doc. Upload the file or submit text in the right submission box, but do not add the text in a comment box. So I'm going to show you this real quick because it's really, really important that we don't do this. So when I click right here to look at the assignment, this is what it will look like. It'll, you know, say possible points 100, and it'll give you all of that information there. We've got here the assignment submission right here. And it says text submission, write submission. Now, if I were you, I would just upload a document. It's a lot easier that way, and you can avoid, like, you know, any spelling mistakes, things like that. And you can kind of like work on it a little, like, you know, for a few minutes, then save it and then come back to it. And then just upload it here. Do not, where it says add comments and comments right here, do not, do not upload your text there. If you were going to write your text in the submission, do the right submission, text submission right here. Don't put it right here. I can't check it through the plagiarism checker that way, and you will get points deducted off of there and have to upload the assignment again if you upload it in this way. So please don't do it that way. Additionally, if you do a text submission, do not, if you're using like Google Docs or something like that, where you have to like share the link to me, this is not the place to do that, because I do have to check it through the plagiarism checker. And if you just simply submit a link to the Google Doc, it's not going to work that way. So you either need to copy and paste from your Google Doc into the text submission there, or you need to save the Google Doc or, you know, your Word doc or whatever it is as a PDF, and upload it here. I don't want to see any links to Google Docs or to your text, and I do not want to see it in the comments here. You will get points taken off for that. I've had a lot of problems with this in the past, so I don't want to keep having to repeat it in future semesters. But yeah, that's all. That's just my little spiel, warning, whatever you want to call it. But that should answer all your questions for project 1. If you do have any other concerns about the artwork that you select or just paragraphs or anything like that, please let me know. And also please remember to do the outline before you actually start on project 1. That's really, really important as well. I will see you guys soon, and good luck on your project.